Hello, winners, and welcome to Two for the Win with your hosts, Nick and Will. Have you ever thought, wow, I may not have all the answers, and you suffer a little bit from imposter syndrome, and you're like, oh, can I really lead in this situation? Well, if you've had those thoughts, A, you're not alone, most have, and B, you're going to want to listen to the rest of the episode where we give some tips and tricks on how to navigate and lead when you don't have all the answers. So get ready for that. But first, please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow Two for the Win on your favorite platform. Please share the word. Please send in messages, whether you want to comment on the social media platforms or send us an email at twoforthewin@gmail.com. We want to hear from the audience, and if you have quotes, if you have topics, we want to know, and we can do that accordingly. Also, want to give a shout out to nickmenard.com and the 1% push. So thank you, Nick Menard, for sponsoring today's episode.
You're welcome. Hello, winners.
Hello. So, nobody's going to have all the answers. That's just impossible. But sometimes I think leaders feel like if they don't project themselves as somebody who knows all the answers, or something that just grates at me when people are striving to be the smartest person in the room. And it can impact their leadership and certainly their authenticity in aiding and helping their people. But what are your thoughts when you hear about people and just trying to lead when you know you're not going to know the answers to everything?
That's something I really like to talk about. It's part of my keynote as well. This part of this, so that's very dear to me. So be vulnerable. That's what I always said. That's what I think about this, because nobody will ever have all the answers. You cannot have all the answers. And if you have all the answers, you probably are far from the truth. So be vulnerable. Not having all the answer, it's not a failure or be bad at what you're doing. It's just be authentic. For me, it show authenticity to actually allow you to say to someone, you know what? That's a good question. I don't have the answer, but I will have the answer by X. By the end of the day, depending on what kind of question it is, by the end of the day, by the end of the week, by the end of the month, I will get you the answer, or I will get you someone who have the answer that can help you out, which is delegation, which we talked about in the past, but I think it's very important to bring that back. So that's what I think about when I think about that notion of I don't have the answer.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, and I find more and more, instead of me owning the action of finding the answer, it is more about knowing the person who may have the answer and direct them to do that. Because otherwise, sometimes it's telephone. Like, I just went through a situation, somebody escalated something to me that was a bit problematic. They described it. I went to somebody to escalate and have a conversation around it. They started asking me more granular questions. I didn't know the granularity of that situation, and I couldn't answer it. So then I'm going back, and I caught myself. So before I ended that call, I said, "Hey, would you mind if I had so and so just email you directly, and then that way, if you got clarifying questions, she can answer it." And he was like, "Yeah, great." So I'm like, "Perfect." So then I just boop and did that. But I'm that's actually more rare than get myself in that situation. Usually I would have done that from the get-go. They would have surfaced it. I would have said, "Hey, go to this person. If you don't really get any traction, then bring me in." Right? Because sometimes things get lost in translation, and that was just an experience where I slipped up and kind of did it, and like, that was kind of a little bit of a waste of time.
I totally agree. And I think we need also to, when we do that, we need to validate, because sometimes we may not understand the question, or we may think what the question is all about. It's maybe not that, but by validating exactly what it is, then it can help us direct to the right person, instead of having, like you said, a telephone book, like when you go one place, the other place. Just validate exactly what they're looking for, and it's going to help you get to the right person faster. And then again, when you send that email, that person will jump on a call, and that person will have all the knowledge needed to do whatever they needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to you for admitting that you don't know the answer, but a person will have better results by talking to X. And I think that's something that usually leader understand and manager do not.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, there's the old adage, you could be a jack of all trades, a master of none. I, as I've matured in my career, I have been more diligent about narrowing my scope of where I'm really going to apply a lot of effort. And then the areas that I'm not going to apply as much effort or I'm just not as strong in, surrounding myself with people who do have strengths in those areas. And it makes it more well rounded. We make more quality decisions with less bias because you have a debate or you chat through things and get different perspectives and so make better quality decisions. But I've been saying this more and more to people, like, I don't want to know and I don't need to know. Somebody needs to know, but it doesn't have to be me.
No, I love it. And you know what it makes me think? And it's gonna be, I will give you your flowers here again. But back in the day when we were working in the same department and I was reporting to you,
Mm.
I remember that you were very adamant during the individual development plan that we had or meeting about, development, that you said, Nick, what are your skills, the skills that you have the most success with or that you're the strongest with? That's what I want you to continue to develop to get even better at it. And it's based on what you said, like you have the master of none.
Yeah.
Well, that was very interesting, and I totally agree with that. But I love that aspect because in the past, like in other business that was part of in the past, they always try to teach you to learn new things or get good at a lot of different things. But I much rather be great and be one of the best in a specific subject than be good at everything, but you're not a factor for nothing.
Right.
And so I love that aspect. And so if you're listening and you're wondering, like how to work on some development with people within your organization, always think of what that person is actually excelling at or great at and continue to develop that, because that person will be remarkable for your business in your department or your region, because that person has the hit factor for that specific thing that can help you navigate situation. That don't try to make that person great at YZ as well, because it's not going to help, because you may have other people who are great at YZ and the X can give that to Y and Z. And
Yeah.
so at the end of the day, it's all about, like the power of different people with different, knowledge and specialties with, instead of having everybody be average.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I've refined it a little bit since when we're working directly, and I call it the 2+1 IDP. And what it is have two strengths, two skills that are strengths that you want to augment, and then one area of opportunity because you do want to raise your
Yeah.
floor. But to your point, when you build on strengths, you you're building on things where you can get to the road to mastery quicker. And when you get to the road to mastery quicker, you get far more exponential benefit than if you have something that's not innate to you and it's not a strength. You can work on it and you can spend a lot of time to develop it to get it to be okay, or maybe if you're lucky, very good. But if you had that strength, something you're already well, and you get on the road to mastery and the exponential impact that has, it can have a profound impact not only on the person's career and the impact they make to the organization and the people they lead, but coaching that framework to the others. And to tie it back to the point about not knowing everything, if you're documenting that and you're having regular individual development plan conversations with people, you're actually building a library of knowing what people have certain strengths and skills. So as a leader, when somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, I I need some assistance with this," or blah 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 blah. Well, now because I've actually been working intimately with people on their individual development plans, I could be like, "Oh, this person, this is definitely a strength." And so it's efficiency as and with my recommendations as well. And then they can hear from somebody who is considered a subject matter expert in that area, and it can expedite their growth all the faster versus you put them with somebody who's maybe okay, or maybe they talk a good game, but the substance isn't really there, and then they get marginal at best benefit.
Love it. And as you can hear, winners, We are very enthusiastic about this, and but we didn't forget about your favorite section of Mindset Monday. So let's go for it
Ready?
with our
Quotes and quips. Here we go. Here we go, folks. All right. First one is a quote from Charles Darwin. If anyone doesn't know Charles Darwin, I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, his quote is, "It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change." Thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about it numerous times about if you don't change, if you don't adapt, you actually don't stay put, but you are declining. And so I think it's important to always be looking into what's next and adapt based on where you're going. But what's your take on this? Because I know you had a very good take on that.
Well, I like it because it resonates. You look at things, let's look at it from a business lens. Netflix comes around, Blockbuster poo poos them, Netflix dominates, Blockbuster's gone. And that was they weren't adaptive to change, the marketplace change. Obviously, you see it with technology all the time. Like when I grew up, there were cassette tapes. There's probably listeners listening to this that are like, what the heck is a cassette tape? Then you had CDs, right? Then it became digital, 1,000 songs in your pocket with the iPod, and things change. You look at cameras, Kodak, like everyone had all those things, and then Steve Jobs comes around with a phone that can also take pictures, and how that just
Mhm.
totally transformed. But so that I think is very common. People can see it in business, especially with technology. When it comes to people, I have seen people more often than I care to admit say all the right things, but their behavior never changes. They talk about human leadership, yet they still lead in a way that's just focused on some sort of metric or outcome. And then they wonder why they're stuck in the same title and the same role for a decade. Like, I really don't know what to say to those people, because along the way, they were given feedback and acknowledged the feedback, and yet they stay the same. And I can say for myself, I am absolutely not the same leader that I was 15, 20 years ago. You learn, you grow, you stub your
Mhm.
toe, you iterate, tweak things. I mean, that's the spirit of life. It's
Mhm.
about continuous growth and development. But people who dig their heels in, and the ones who really get under my skin, I've gotten really good about being more patient. But I will say, the the type of people who still get under my skin a bit are the ones who are always striving to be known in a meeting as the smartest person in the room. It's like, I want to use an acronym, but I won't, of what I'd like to say to them. But it's like, I don't care. And honestly, for myself, I give two rips about whether or not I'm the smartest person in the room. What I do care about is, are we making smart decisions? Are we getting different perspectives? Are we really identifying the root problem, or are we just addressing a symptom
Pacting.
and get after that? Like, I don't really care who gets the credit. What I care about is, are we doing meaningful work that makes an impact for our people and our clients?
Love it. And I know you, so I know that you are very strongly about this. And I am too. Like, don't believe that the person who's speaking the most in a meeting is the person who are more able to actually resolve whatever challenge are in place. They're usually there to listen to themselves. But yeah, no. So that's definitely a problem in majority of corporate America and businesses. Unfortunately, is that. And some companies reward people like that, and some
Right.
otherwise, or some others are not, and actually looking at what matters. So you know
Yeah,
it depends.
it does. But, ultimately, you have to change. You have to adapt because the world's changing
Hmm.
fast. All right, the quip.
Mm.
This comes from Casey Stengel. This is way before our time in terms of
Uh-huh.
a baseball manager, but for those who follow baseball, you probably know that name from, I think he was a manager in the 50s, right? Wasn't he?
Way before I was a
Yeah.
man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I wasn't even a glimmer in the cosmic dust. So, but but the quip from Casey Stengel: This one is good.
Yeah,
I
it
like
is.
this one. The key to being a good manager is keeping the people who hate you away from those who are still undecided.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
I have
Thoughts
so
on
many.
that?
I have so many flashback, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, again, the key word is manager.
Yeah.
Because that's literally. I mean, we know how I feel about the difference of being a manager and being a leader. And yes, that says a lot. It's true. Like undecided people, you don't talk about those who like you because very little amount of people actually like managers. But unfortunately, there are tons of manager across different, industries. And to become a leader, you need to be willing to make a difference and to look into the people themselves, your associates, and to try to do everything you can to help them during their journey. And by helping your people, the business will elevate instead of thinking about where can I make a difference? Where can I make a difference on the people to help, you know, help them raise the bar instead of thinking where can I be the reason why something is working? And so that's the reason why you have manager usually don't inspire people the same way as leader does. So it's a big difference. But I love this quote because it's, I mean, it's quip
Yeah.
because it's literally like it's funny, but it's so true.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, yeah, you don't want people who are undecided talking to people who don't like you because then they'll add to more people who don't like you. But I also had something run through my head with the Godfather, right? The famous quote, "Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer." And I think in the corporate environment, just unfortunately, politics is a thing, right? And what I found it now, I love my team, my people I work directly with, and everyone part of our organization. I love them all. I may not like hanging out with some of them, but I love all of them. And
Me
I'm being
too.
kind of silly,
I
but
love
I mean,
them all.
but I think like when I think about the different collaborative partnerships with the different business units, there have been times where in the past I didn't really maybe care for somebody, and so I tried to limit my interaction. And actually, what I found that helped aid my influence was me shifting my mindset, my paradigm, and now people that start to maybe grate me under my skin or whatever, I approach it as an opportunity to stay close because again, if they're philosophically different than me, as being an empathetic leader, I need to better understand their point of view. And it's sometimes maybe there is merit in what they're saying and I need to check my own bias. More often it's I need to understand how they're really thinking about this so I can tailor how I speak about things to better influence them or influence the audience who's in the meeting or whatever. And so that was a different paradigm shift I went through that I think has helped make a difference and aided me being a little bit more influential.
Well, in the spirit of being vulnerable, I have to say that it's something that I'm still working on, and I still struggle about it. And you are doing a fantastic job, getting better at it. So I will seek advice to to you, Will, again with that because it's true. I don't want the people. Usually, my philosophy is I want to spend time with people that you know I can help continue to grow with, then spend time with people that are dragging, that are a weight, and I tend to, you know, to lose patience faster than you do because you take more time to actually understand, which I should be doing as well. Um, but in some case, I feel like, you know what? Why am I gonna spend the next X amount of days trying to figure it out, a way to be able to work better with you when I can spend that time actually continue to improve what is already working in my BU that can actually elevate the rest of
Mm-hmm.
my region. So, but you're right. By doing so, I limit myself to first of all, the brand, your personal brand, the company, but also limit myself to opening my mind to other ideas that I may feel completely wrong at first, but maybe by understanding, I can increase my ability to lead people who are in that kind of mindset. So yeah, definitely I agree. We need to. I mean, we all need to improve at something,
Oh, sure.
at different
Yeah.
things. And this is something that I really, when I have a strong feeling about someone because of experience with that person, or because I see, the kind of um, mindset in their region, or the kind of things moving in certain direction in the region, and I'm like, I want to stay away from that. And
Yeah.
those people try to tell you how to do your own business. That's where I cut very short, and then I'm just, ignoring. But yeah, there's probably merit to dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't do it all the time. Like it depends. Is that person based on their title or based on what they're working on and who asked them to work on it? Are they a potential hurdle? Because if they are a potential hurdle, then I need to,
Mm.
kind of understand. If it's somebody who has no impact really whatsoever on what we're doing and they're just voicing a contrarian opinion, I will obviously hear it and reflect on it. Sometimes that reflection is 2 seconds, sometimes it's a little longer. Um, but then I'm a little less like I'm not here. And the other thing I will say, and I would say this has probably been in the last 5 years of something that I've paradigm shifted on, and it's really made a big difference in the way I lead, I think, anyway. I used to be, I wanted people to all agree. I was always
Mm.
going for consensus. And candidly, I wanted people to like me.
Mhm.
I just, because I like interacting with people and it's more fun to work with people who
Mhm.
you like and interact with. And where I matured, and this has really helped make a difference in kind of elevating my leadership is, and people who are listening to this who work with me have heard this probably so many times. They're probably like, oh gosh, here he goes. But you can't please 100% of the people 100% of the time. And when I adopted that and really integrated it, I didn't care if everyone liked me. I just cared, did the majority of people resonate with my message?
Mhm.
I didn't care if everyone agreed with it, did a majority. So I focused versus consensus or 100% to the majority. And that has been liberating in so many ways because I think it's human nature. Maybe it was just my human nature. But when I had somebody who didn't like, when I felt passionate about something, and it was really a principle based leadership concept, and I explained it, and people didn't like it, or they poo pooed it, or they countered it, or whatever, it really dwelled on me. I'm like, maybe I didn't,
Mm.
present it right, or maybe I'm off a little bit. Like even the vision, like we talked about, people centric cultures and high performing teams, that is the fuel and has been my fuel to have that influence within the organization because I believe in it so strongly, versus just treating people transactionally or numbers on a spreadsheet. Like it's my purpose and why I do what I do. But so when like some people wouldn't resonate with that, they're like, "Oh no, you just manage to the outcomes and blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "But that's so limiting." And it would bother me. And I'm like, now I'm just like, nah, you know what? Not everyone will, and that's okay. Just do is my inner circle, are we all aligned? And then do the majority, whether or not they agree with it, do it they at least understand it and they have clear expectations in the why, and then know that there's going to be accountability towards that. Um, and that's made a huge difference. Just adopting, not worrying about, you can't please 100% of the people 100% of the time.
I love it. And it's the same in life, outside business. It's that. And it's okay.
Mhm.
We need to be okay with it. You cannot be upset because your message doesn't go through for some people. Um, because maybe if you change the message to please those, you will damage the relationship with the people who are actually in alignment with you on the other side. So you cannot feel a certain way. And then to continue what I was saying earlier, by listening to you, I want to also say that you know, piggyback on what I said earlier about the fact that I have issue when I hear people like trying to bring ideas and they are, not successful in their view. I do believe though that even if like a leader is struggling in being successful, it doesn't mean that that person may not have certain attribute that can help you grow as a leader or help your team with certain aspect, because that person may not be successful for XYZ reason, but they may have good idea in between. But if you analyze them, so if you allow yourself to listen when you feel like rolling your eyes, which I'm very non-verbal, so
I get
so
those
it's very
post-its on the eyes. Remember that it's a meme I sent you the other day?
So maybe, I mean, that's something I need to continue working on. And again, that's a podcast about about learning, teaching, and also be vulnerable about things. So take more time to understand everything about the people, even though you may not have the biggest level of professional respect, if I can say so, on them. Maybe they have some things that you can progress and get better at in your own region by listening, or department, by listening and by tweaking your thinking a little bit.
Yeah, and it's a great self-reflection on your part, and I think the other thing you mentioned, like there's always stuff we're going to be working on. None of us are perfect, but tying it back to leading when you don't have all the answers, which is what you're touching on, is you have to listen, right? So when you listen, to your point earlier, maybe you find people who have strengths in certain things, and now you're able to connect the person with somebody who can give them the answer when you can't, or you don't want to, because it's just not your area of expertise and you don't have an interest in it. To your other point about, like, if somebody really grates on you, and it's human nature, right? But that doesn't mean if you detach the feelings of the person versus the merit of what they're saying, because in that scenario, like you gave, maybe 90% you're like, this is not worth the words they said, but 10% was, and that's worth it. And that's the maturity and really the strength of the leader, because you're now detaching personal judgment from what could be even a microcosm of quality content, and that in the spirit of what can I do to help better my team, help shape the path for them to be more fully successful and help grow the business. You have to detach sometimes the personal stuff from it, and it's tough to do. It is very tough to do, because we all are humans, we all have biases, we all judge. But that's like trying to take the next level, is separating the judgment from the merit of what is being said.
Because at the end of the day, the little thing you may learn from that may be the difference between being successful and being exceptional, So that may be what's needed. And so, keep an open mind. That's the word of the day.
Yeah, and don't worry about having all the answers. Just try to be able to, have resources, either find the answers or connect people with the answers, because no one's going to have all the answers. And please, if you're one of those people that are so insecure, you feel like you have to be the smartest person in the room, just stop. It's okay. Like, it's about making quality decisions. Stop worrying about the credit. All right. Anyway, I'll jump off my soapbox on that one. So thank you, winners. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please, again, remember to subscribe, share, and follow on your favorite platform, and spread the word. And thanks again to nickmenard.com and the 1% Push. The keynote is coming to a stage near you soon, perhaps. Say hey, hint, hint, hint. But thanks again for that, and hope this message finds you well, winners, and we will see you next Monday for our next Monday Mindset.
Bye, winner.